Hi everybody, welcome to Beyond the Lines. My name is Sarah, I'm the artist behind Pinselgeschichten, and today it's time to color another full scene. Guess what? You already saw it in the video name. This is more than one part because I'm working in the Outlander coloring book, and well, you probably already know these are rather maybe a bit more complex sceneries, so they take a bit longer to work. Today I'm working with Neocolor 2 because I'm working on the background only, so the trees here and the hills and stuff and grass between the Highlanders' legs. Working on that, and I'm gonna talk to you about why I choose certain colors, how I came about using particular blues and greens and what I want to say with those colors, what scenery I want to put you in. So I hope you enjoy. So let's get started, right? Well, here's a little behind the scenes information. I do record this part of the video before I record the intro. So things at this point are, of course, unclear because this is an empty page. So I have a plan, but I wonder how it will have turned out. But the plan is to, well, put the book aside for a second, to color this particular page here of the Outlander coloring book. It's time to do some full-blown scenes because, well, the series for blue as color has been finished. Now, I have already colored a couple of Outlander pages in all kinds of different media. For example, this one with polychromos colored pencils. This one with a mixture of Inktense, pastel chalk, and colored pencil. This one acrylic and colored pencil. This one with Tombow markers and Faber-Castell markers. The Pitt pens. This one with watercolor pencils and colored pencils, both from Faber-Castell as well. Then this one with, I think it was Neocolors and colored pencils, I think, or it was Inktense and colored pencils. One of those. This one with acrylic paint. And this one with watercolors and color pencils. And the last one that I did with Copic markers and I think there was color pencil on top as well. Yeah, I base coated with alcohol markers and then colored in some details with the pencils. But on the back of this page, it's going to be a little hard to read, but let me read you the snippet of story that comes with this particular page here. And it is, "It was only then that I saw they were all kilted. Odd, even for this part of the Highlands. Had I stumbled into the meeting of a clan society? Or perhaps a regimental reunion? No, you have fallen through time, Claire. But we're gonna find that out a little later in the book. I'm gonna put these bits to the side for now, because I don't need them. I want to have as much space as possible for this page. So, few things first on how I decide to use what medium for a coloring page. There's very different line work styles in this particular book, as there are different artists. I think it's 4. Let me look in the back. Let me have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. Oh, he has a book out, his own coloring book. I can remember that name. I've seen it recently. But yeah, 6 people. So of course they will have different styles of line work. And when you work with coloring books or any other line work that is not maybe done by yourself, but has a certain style, you might want to take a closer look at the artwork is laid down, so that you then can decide, okay, which style or medium would fit best for your personal taste to have the pages or the artwork be a bit colored. For me personally, this is one of the pages that has very fine and detailed lined, almost realistic in the background. So it's kind of like this one almost. It's close to that. Or I just had it, the one with the mill. Where was it? The one with the mill. Sheesh, where is it? Oh no! Oh, it was here somewhere. This one. This has just a style of line work with lots of little speckles and stuff that is almost going to a graphite pencil, a drawing. So you have the same thing here in the background as well, very tiny lines. The focal point here, though, the 4 people, they have thicker outlines. So it is all, the focal point is already separated from the background with the thickness of the lines here. So I'm going to make that be the technique that decides, or that I choose upon what I want to do. So I will play this up, this difference in line work between the background and the foreground. But still, the foreground is only so cartoony and comic-y with the style. It tries to tell you where light and shade is with those lines here, not so much an expression at the face. So the grumpiest you see here is what I think to be is Murta. So this is like the closest on facial expressions where you have lines or something. It's not a cartoon, it's not a manga, it's not something like this. So I want to play towards that. With those lines here in the background, with this kind of style, I would actually go with either watercolors or neo colors, or even maybe Inktense, a wet style, a wet watercolory looking style. With the bigger in front of here, I would either go with Inktense or maybe a marker, so a Tombow marker, or if I don't want to have the watercolor relook, maybe a Faber-Castell Pitt pen, something like that. So to combine the two, I decided to go, because you heard it, watercolory and Inktense. These both are looking kind of similar, but the intensity is different. So I'm playing with intensity of color to put these 4 into the foreground. And that personally for me means that I can start with a background and use the Neo Color 2 there. I do have the full palette off to the side next to me, and just give it a base coat and then go on top with Inktense and intensify things there, because that pigment is bright as hell. Now, I do have the 2 sheets of swatches here. So these are all the Neo colors that I have. This one belongs down here, just got splotched, but well, it's water soluble. So I will use that to look up what colors I want to use in particular. And since we have people there, and I don't want to go with fantasy per se, I did look up in the first book how they are described. Earlier I had another tartan, the black and red one, that was the Fraser tartan. So here on this book it's actually the wedding between Claire and Jamie, but here it describes the Mackenzie tartan as white and green, and the Fraser tartan as dark red and black. So since, except for Myrta, the other two, so I'd say this is Rupert and Dougal, they do have a white and green tartan. Myrta has a red and black. And now I have to see, what does Jamie have? I think he has the Mackenzie. Does he have the Mackenzie tartan? Let me see. I don't remember. In the show, he has kind of like a grayish, brownish tartan, and the Mackenzie tartan is not white and green per se. So let's see if I can find that right away to see. If I can find the tartan color. Otherwise, I would give it the Mackenzie. Would give him the Mackenzie tartan. But he's supposed to be a McTavish, so he shouldn't have the Mackenzie tartan. So I'm just gonna make this up. I'm not really in the mood for searching now. I did research all the other bits. So Jamie on the right hand side is gonna get a grayish, more stars show like tartan. I think this is Myrta, though he looks kind of like Rupert from the show, but he's grumpy. So they always say in the books that Myrta has a grumpy look on his face. So I'm going to make him Myrta with the Fitzgibbons Fraser tartan, and I'm going for a red brown there, red black, maybe a bit of gray in there to have the Fitzgibbons in there, not the true Fraser tartan only, and have these two be Rupert in the middle and Dougal. So they will get Mackenzie tartans. Now, having said that, so there's a lot of green and gray in the people because of the time that I'm going to depict here, 1700s. So they're kind of earthy looking, not too bright. However, they have to stand out from the background a bit. Not too much, not to look comic-y, because they kind of want to blend in too, but they have to stand out from the background. So the background, this is supposed to be springtime from the book, so I'm going with springtime, and that means we have lighter green colors. And now finally I'm starting to color. I know I'm 20 minutes in, but this is the thought process that I approach when I get to coloring pages or any other bit of artwork that I do when it comes to decide what colors do I choose. Because the colors do not only set the scene, but they convey time, like which year, then time of day, is it morning, noon, night, evening, whatever it is, and also the weather conditions and stuff. I put a lot of thought into things before I start any kind of coloring there. So let's get started. Background. The easiest thing to have is the sky. It's a solid surface. So I'm thinking either the light cobalt blue or the light blue. Let me see. I'm tending towards the light cobalt blue because it is, again, even lighter and it is a bit colder in tone than the light blue is. So let me find the light cobalt blue. You can't really see it because I'm zoomed in, but I use the lid of the Neo Color tin to put down my wax crayon thing here and have it as a palette. Now let's quickly get in there. Start the vlogging camera for a tiny little bit of footage for the vlog. So I'm having a brush, a water brush, and I'm just picking up my pigment from the palette and very softly give this a whole light cobalt blue layer of color here. Just going around the tree. Don't have to go around each and every leaf because this is a cluster of leaves there, so I'm going to also color it as a cluster. So there's that part. By having a watercolor base coat like this, it is very fast that you get rid of the white of the paper, which to some people is quite intimidating. So if you're one of those people, I would suggest you work with these materials to get rid of white paper fast and get some color down. Even very light color, you can see the difference. It is going to buckle, the medium is going to buckle my page a bit. I don't care, because once I am done with the colorings of this book, I will mount the pages to cardstock and have the text of the sceneries, the one that I read you in the beginning, I will have that written underneath the accordant coloring page rather than having to flip back to the page to read the one that is pretty much for the next page, to the right or left, depending. So let me... You can see here the light cobalt blue has a bit of a grayish look almost on this paper, and that is really helpful because, well, we are in Scotland and this is supposed to be springtime, so there is no blue skies like you can find on other parts of the world. There's no deep turquoise blue anywhere. They all have a very cool periwinkle or gray shade, those skies in spring. And if you are unsure what the sky looks like at a certain part of the world in a certain time of year, I would suggest you Google and look at images and just see, okay, what does the sky look like then? So sky done. Whoop, whoop. Number 1. Now I will work on the hills. I need a very, very light green for the one here in the back, or is it a gray? It's the Highlands, so it could be gray too. These ones here are definitely green though. I do need gray for this particular one, so let's start with the green. Again, it is spring, so we have a more of a lighter green. So I'm thinking, I'm thinking the moss green or the light olive. Let's go with light olive first. Are you the one? Yes, you are. You don't have to write down or remember the exact numbers of pencils or crayons or anything that I use here. When I publish the final part of this coloring page, I will also have a blog post up on my website. The website is named in the description box. And there I will have close-up photos of this coloring page for you, as well as all the materials, all the exact numbers of pencils and crayons and everything that I used on this particular page, as well as maybe any gel pens that I'm going to use and stuff like that. So you just gotta take a look there if you want to use a certain combination because you seem to like it. Now, just giving the grassy hill here a layer of the light olive. Need a bit more. I'm not being super precise when putting down the pigment around the branches of the tree here. Since they are going to be brown, I can definitely paint over any green that might be in the tree branches for now. That's totally fine. So now let's see. I want to use a little bit of the moss green, which was the darker green that I had also thought about using. And I want to add a little bit of that down here. And I always have cardstock behind the page that I'm coloring because there might be some things that go through when I don't want to color the next page already. So just to help with that, I take some cardstock. So I'm just coloring the base of the mountain here with, or the hill, with that mossy green, not the top. Excuse me. And same goes for that hill back here. I'm going in with the second layer of the moss green. So you can layer up the watercolor soluble crayons, neocolors, that's what they are called. You can layer them up. So I'm going to do that just to intensify some of the darker pigment here. And then I'm going over the top once more with a little bit of that light olive, just to give it a bit more of a spring green look. See, that's a bit better. One thing that I can not stress enough when you do any kind of artwork, painting, drawing, coloring, whatever it is that you are doing, make sure you have a comfortable position at either your desk or your easel. Be sure that you can rest your arm really well. Turn the paper to be comfortable for you to color and or paint, draw. Put in the word that is suitable for you. And make sure that, well, you don't have to color face with the page facing you all the time. You can turn it. It's totally cool. Nobody will yell at you. It will even be better for you because you don't get any cramps or anything. Now it's time for a bit of gray. For once here for the stone, also that bit of a stone back here behind Dougal, and the same here for that mountainy, snowy thing. Though in between here, I think this is a lake, so I'm going to have a bit more of a grayish blue. And I'm taking a very cool blue. Let's go with the lake first. I don't want anything too loud and too much in your face, so all of these colors here are too much. I'm thinking ultramarine or Prussian blue, but Prussian blue is a warm color, so not really. Maybe the night blue. Yeah, why not? Let's take the night blue. It's dark enough, and actually, well, lakes look really dark. I just need very little because that bit here is not very big. So I'm going to put gray on top then. Now for the mountain, I don't know if it is a snowy bit or not. I'm going to, should I? No, I'm going to take the gray. It's a neutral gray, so it is not a warm gray or a cold gray per se. It just sits in the middle of the spectrum. And I'm going to put that on my brush and just give this a bit of a gray tone here. Something like this. I will go on and get the same gray on top of the blue that I had just colored, just to tone it down, knock it back a bit. Now for the stone here and also here, I need a different gray. This is way closer than that mountain range here on the back and also the lake or whatever it is. So I need a darker gray, still a cool gray though. I don't want to have a warm gray. I want to keep the warm colors more for these gentlemen here when it comes to the gray tone. So I will take the Payne's gray, which is a bluish gray and therefore a cold tone. Going to put some of that pigment down, maybe a bit more. Maybe, yeah, there we go. And I'm gonna start with this bit here behind Dougal's head. And just give it a squiggly layer of gray. Now I'm pulling the pigment to the left, meaning that the light is coming from the left-hand side, as the tone here you see is lighter than on the right-hand side. So shading or stuff is coming from the right-hand side because there is a tree, and that will cast a shadow too on those rocks here. Now for the rocks behind Dougal. Didn't miss any here. No, that's just maybe. It looks... No, it doesn't look stony. It looks like there's just plain earth there. So I'm just going to color that stone here on the left. Need a bit more of the pigment to separate the two stones. So I'm giving the base of the further away stone a bit more pigment, a layer pretty much, just to darken things up, and the base here of the front stone also gets a bit more of that gray. All right. Next thing now is to think about the tree. This looks like... Oh God, I don't know the English word. It's kind of like a maple tree, but then not. It's a... Let me look it up on the web. Because I know the German word, of course. Let's take the dictionary. While I'm looking that up, this can dry a bit. And I search for plantana. Does something come up? Plantain. Okay. All right. They say it's called plantain, so that's what it is then. So it has very dark green leaves and a cool grayish brown kind of a tree trunk. It's not these kinds of browns here. It's more like the sepia, the raw umber, those kind of tones. So Van Dyke would also, Van Dyke here would fit. So these three tones would be fitting for the tree trunk. And the green of the leaves is the closest is the dark green, but I don't want to have all in one all-in-one color there. So I will put down some more of the moss green that I used here on the base of the hill, and I will mix it with a dark green and put in that color. But first, the tree trunk and the branches. So I'm going to use a mixture of raw umber and Van Dyke. And still, while you have all of those pigments here, all those different colors when you work with the neo colors, still it is a very good idea to mix things, to mix colors, to make them your own. It's very helpful to have well, natural colors and have things look kind of real, you know. So let's start with the raw umber Van Dyke mix here, and I'm starting at the base. And these are the two colors mixed together. So I'm just picking them up. And for the first layer, it is only about putting in the color. The second layer will be shading or anything, or intensifying stuff. Need some more of the two browns on my palette. Mixing the two together. And you can see now that I can perfectly cover up any of the light olive green that I had on the tree trunks or the branches. Better said, these are branches. So need to paint in the branches up here. Again, I'm kind of squiggly with my lines here. I'm not exactly just staying in those lines, as I plan to put on top some dark green for those leaves. I think it's totally fine if I just work with the concept of those branches here, not the exact line work per se. I can move on to the left-hand side, and I have to make sure that I move my cardstock behind that part of the coloring page, not to have anything go through. And it's very simple to, well, like I said earlier, give your coloring page or your painting, whatever it is, a base coat. I like to do the same thing for illustrations too and for drawings. So when I either draw something or sketch something out and then have a little bit of color down just to, well, make it an illustration, make it a bit more fun to remember or work with an idea. I like to do just a little bit of these watercolor-like colorings then, just to, well, set the scene, the drawing or the sketches in. Not so much about shading or perfect color choice at that point, but just a little dab of color to make it interesting, you know? I like to do that. So now that I have my branches and everything down, I just need to add a little more pigment here where there is some darker parts, and also down here. Anything else I can do with Inktense or colored pencils later if I so desire. I try not to use pencils per se in this page. Maybe I would use some Inktense a little bit, but not too much too. So now the dark green is the next color that I need to pick from my oh, what's it called? From my tin of colors. And also I need to get a palette or something to put all the neo colors in that I used. Let's use this metal tray. Just put them in there so that they don't get lost. So I'm putting down the moss green. Again, that is the darker green from the hills, and I put the dark green right beside it, and I'm going to mix the two and just put this in, add a bit of pure dark green, add a bit of pure moss green, and like that I do fill the space between these branches. The foliage has to go in here. A little more up here. Need more of the moss green, maybe even a bit of the light olive. Again, it is springtime, so there should be some lighter yellow greens in there as well. So I'm just adding that bit. And now on to the other side. And again, this is the first layer was moss green with dark green mixed, and the second layer was light olive mixed with the moss green, and that is the color that I used here. Now I'm going in with the darker green mix. Add a bit of pigment here, and there's a little bit here. Now I'm going in with the lighter color again, a bit more of the darker, and same for these little leaves here. Tiny little bit of the darker color, just as at the base of the towards the branches, you know. A little here. Need a little bit more of that light olive to mix in. And I'm doing that for those leaves up here. Squiggle, squiggle, squiggle. And of course I'm doing the same thing as I did before and add a bit of that dark green mixture just to give it a bit of oomph and you know, have a bit of color variation and stuff going on, that it just looks way more natural if you have that going on. A little more. There we go. That's good. Now the only thing that I have to do for the background is the grass and that bush down here. I need to add some color to that, and I'm going to take the darker tree color mix that I have here. I'm going to take just the same thing for that bush here because I have it on my palette, so why not use it up? Also, color repetition makes for a very harmonic looking kind of painting or drawing, whatever it is that you do. If you, and I'm by the way also mixing in some of the brown that I used for the tree trunk down here. When you use colors more than once on your artwork, it will look more harmonic and calmer. By the way, I'm going to use the same green here where there's not a lot of grass blades, so these are like the shadowy bits maybe. Going to use that same tone there. So if you want to have a not too busy looking kind of a painting or drawing, make sure that you repeat colors that you already have put down, And if you mix things, like for example, you want to mix a certain green, use the blues and the yellows that you have used somewhere else in your painting. That will also make it a little less busy, a little calmer and more harmonic looking. And yeah, that's just one of those very few tricks there that help you out. Now for the grass blades here, I want more of the lighter green combo, so I'm taking more of the light ochre, no, not light ochre, light olive, that's the word. I'm going to mix in a little bit of the moss green. I'm just going to color them pretty much solid here. Mainly light olive, a little bit of the moss green only. Again, this is only the first layer. This is close enough to be part of the focal point. So those blades here will get some shading. Some more shading than, say, the sky, for example. So I'm taking mostly the light olive for now, because I need to have some space on my palette to get darker, but not to go super dark, because this is something like spring grass. Again, here I want some more of the lighter tones, but I also need enough space on the spectrum, the color spectrum, to shade or have clusters stand out and not have everything look flat like it does now. So now I need the mossy green, and I'm going to take that with a little bit of the light olive, and I need a bit more. I'm just going to squiggle that into some of those grass blades here, just to make him not look too flat. Having that cluster thing going on, you know? Cluster here, here. Some can be lighter, some parts, but some I really want darker. So there are the bases of these clusters of grass plates that I want darker, or the ones that are closer. I want parts of them darker just to add to a bit of busyness there. Now I'm going to take a bit of the brown. I'm going to add that here onto the darker green spots that I had painted in first. Just to have it look more like dirt. And not so much moss per se, because I have the moss green already in my grass blades. Also, by speckling in a bit of that brown, again, it looks more natural. A meadow or grassland is never only green in one shade. Same goes with trees. They don't only have one shade of green in there. They don't have every shade in the book either, but like 2 or 3 tones, you're good to go. Now, let me see. That looks a bit better, but I still need a bit of the lighter olive tone on some of the blades here. So I still have enough on my palette so I can add another layer. I could also do that with the Inktense, because again, this is close enough to be focal point or part of the focal point, but I want to have the Inktense only on the people. So I need to have 2 or 3 more layers than I have in the background to have enough color variation going on in the foreground as at these grass blades here. But you just go over it again, pick up some light olive pigment and you're good to go. Now I need a little bit of diversity here, so I'm going in with the dark green, because here those 2 clusters didn't really sit well, as does this one. Add a little bit of a darker color at the base and ta-da, you have a cluster. If you're not sure if you have the right color value on stuff or anything, squint your eyes or cross them very shortly only, and you will, and by looking like this at your piece of art, you will take away all the details and the line work. It won't distract you, but you only see the color values, and that is really helpful when you want to make sure that something is in the right value. And that pling was my vlogging camera saying, I don't have any battery anymore. That's totally fine, vlogging camera, because I'm just, I just wanted to have a little bit of footage for my vlog. I don't want to give away too much already how this is going to turn out. So, bit more gray there. I'm just going around now because I have my background done. Now I'm just picking up things on the palette that I already used. And I'm just looking around my page here and see where I might want to add a little more pigment or color, as they say. But I don't want to introduce new colors. I'm just adding another layer, and that's totally fine. It's good enough. So see, that is that. So that's the background done. I will end the first video here because I think I will need more than an hour to base coat them. So I will probably have 3 parts for this particular page, but have them be shorter videos, shorter than 3 hours, that is. So I hope you enjoyed watching along today, and I hope you like where this coloring page is going. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below. Next week, Thursday, I'm going to work more on this page. It's still going to be the Neo colors, but I will work on the people. And then the third week, I will bring in the Inktense pencils, I think. At least from my point of view now, this is what I think would work really well for this page. Thanks again for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and I'm going to be back with another video very soon. Have fun, folks. Bye.